Whether you're in the jumping camp or whether you're in the sliding camp, you have to admit, that sounds so sexy. Walking into a training hall, hearing the contact of the bar and the contact of the footwork, it's like a symphony. It sounds beautiful, especially when you walk into the more experienced training halls. There's just something to it. I'm a big believer that when we teach beginners, we teach them how to move their feet. If over time the beginner much prefers to slide their feet, they feel like they have better control, power to them. Number one reason I teach people to move their feet is feedback. When you hear that noise, when you hear the contact, when you hear the footwork, as a lifter, it gives you really good feedback. The crack of whether you're landing unbalanced, balanced, it gives you feedback just from an auditory perspective. It helps with timing. You can start to play with how you're exploding. You can start to play with how you're landing. It starts to give you that opportunity for feedback, especially when you don't have necessarily eyes on you. And then the third one is it helps with speed. Having that feedback, having that timing, having that auditory noise, if somebody's timing is off and I coach them to be faster in their lockout, it doesn't make too much sense because the feet hit before the arms lock out. So I would coach somebody to focus on their footwork, fast feet, aggressive feet, things like that. So the simplest drill that we use to teach people how to move their feet is snatch onto plates, or in our case, we use plinths. So when we're teaching somebody how to move their feet, the only reason why I would suggest plinths over plates is because you can actually angle it out depending on the person's hip structure. When you use plates, it can be a little bit funny with, they probably have to start narrow and they probably have to jump out wider than what they would normally. So we always just start people with the plinths. It's super simple. Step one, we would start with no barbell. We would teach somebody how to jump their feet down. And this is the action of, there's never a point in the lift where you're just floating through the air. So a common error that we would see is we would see people jump and then leave the ground and their hips are still in full extension. After you've hit that extension point, your hips should be already going down as your feet lift up and then move back out. So once we've moved on from no barbell, we would go to barbell. And we'd probably just start with like a high hang or a power position snatch. You might even start with power snatches just to get some timing, just to get some speed on the bar. And then really quickly, it doesn't take long, you'd be either doing whatever variation that the beginner lifter's up to. Hang snatches, full snatches, whatever. Now with this exercise, we typically can use it either as a teaching tool or we can use it as a corrective tool, like a priming exercise. We can chuck it at the start of a session. It can give you something to focus on, and then you can take it from your priming into your main exercise. So you would remove the plinths and then you'd start snatching, and you'd be trying to use the same feeling and intent that you're using the priming exercise into your snatches. So that's it from me, guys. Last tip would just be if you're starting out, I think this is a really great place to start. Take your time, hit the positions, hit the speed, hit all that good stuff. If you really like this video, guys, there's another video just here on your first pull mechanics. That'll set you up for good footwork later in the lift. Cheers, guys.